Welcome to the Long Hair Lawyer Podcast. I'm your host, Tyler O'Brien, and this is a business spotlight. Each month this year, I'm interviewing individuals who own, run, or work in remarkable businesses in Washington and California. Businesses that operate in unique areas or are disruptive within their industry. If you or someone you know has a business that deserves a spotlight, go follow @longhair.lawyer on your favorite social media and shoot me a message. With me today, I have Peyton Curtis, founder of The Herd, a company based out of Ritzville, Washington that sells custom beef boxes with high quality steaks, roasts, ribs, ground beef, you name it, all delivered to your door. The Herd's model is vertically integrated, which I think I'll let Peyton elaborate on later. Peyton is a Ritzville local, a fourth-generation rancher, a graduate of Cal Poly with a bachelor's degree in animal science, and a current veterinary student at Washington State University. I've got a lot of questions for you, but I think everyone wants to know the question you get asked all the time, and that's how is vet school?
Well, vet school is vet school, and that's just about what I tell everyone. It's challenging. I spend a majority of my day studying when I'm not sending emails and working on the herd, but I really do enjoy it, and it's going to get me to where I want to be. So I'm enjoying it now. It's nice being back in Eastern Washington and being close to the family ranch, so I can go home on the weekends. And that's actually where I'm at now, is in Ritzville. So I call myself a transient vet student. So I'm in Pullman Tuesday through Thursday and then home on the weekends.
Do you find that your education helps you out a lot when it comes to the work for the herd? I'm sure it does when it comes to all of the calving and stuff that you do in general at the ranch. But on
Mhm.
that kind of retail and operations side, do you find it helpful or not so much?
Yeah, so I mean a large part of veterinary medicine is the communication aspect of it, and how are we going to communicate with our clients and our patients to get to the desired goal. I think since I've been in veterinary school, I mean, I'm only a second year veterinary student out of 4 years, so I still have a lot to learn, but I've been able to kind of integrate different aspects of my education that I've received so far and kind of translating it to the community and our customer base on, what, if they ask a question on like vaccines, I have more knowledge on, how these vaccines are working, which is kind of cool just to bring it all together. So yeah, I mean, I am incorporating my education into our business, but a lot of it is just the kind of communication aspect of it.
So,
Yeah.
about your business, can you
Mhm.
explain for whoever may be listening what vertical integration is and how the herd is a vertically integrated company?
Okay, yeah. So vertical integration in our company basically means that the beef is not going to leave our hands until it's on your dinner table. And this is different from other producers and basically how beef is produced in all of America. So a rancher will raise a 600, 700 pound calf, and then they'll either sell that calf at that 600, 700 pounds to a feedlot who then fattens up the calf before they process it, or they'll maintain ownership and sell it to the big packing plants such as Tyson. And then Tyson maintains ownership and then distributes it to like your Costco and your Walmart. So where we have the vertical integration is the calves are born on our ranch. We feed out our animals to the finishing weight. And then the unique thing about us is we actually own the USDA processing facility in Odessa, Washington, so just 30 miles away from our ranch. So then we process our own cattle, and then I take over and I deliver it straight to your front door and up and down the West Coast. So the kind of vertical integration aspect that we're able to introduce is the operation of this USDA processing plant.
And what prompted you and your family to decide to go from a purely traditional wholesale model to handling everything through retail?
Mhm. So I remember as a kid, like in middle school, sitting at the dinner table, and we always said, "Oh, it'll be so cool if we could just sell our beef directly to consumer." I hate going to Costco. Everyone wants to buy their beef from the rancher, but I feel like this was just like such a fantasy for us, and it was never really going to happen. Then the COVID era came. Meat shelves completely wiped out. I was sent home from Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo, basically overnight. I was studying OChem at my dinner table, and I was said, "This stinks. I need a hobby." Around the same time, the USDA processing plant that we purchased became available in Odessa in 2020. So kind of around that same time, all the pieces just started falling into place. And I looked at my dad and I said, this is our chance. Like, this is our opportunity. So he purchased the USDA processing plant. I basically built a website overnight.
What was the biggest challenge early on?
hmm So early, this is kind of funny. So we launched our website thinking that we would get maybe a couple orders. But we really didn't think about what we were going to do when we got those orders. I mean, we had our beef processed, but it was just sitting in the freezer. And then we're like, oh crap, we have to figure out how we're going to get it to someone's front door frozen. And when we started shipping, it was kind of warm out. So I mean, the packaging and the dry ice and just kind of the science experiment that we ran in terms of getting the beef to the consumer's front door frozen. So I'd say packaging was kind of the hardest part. And it's still a big trial for us. And we use FedEx and UPS and kind of jump back and forth to see who's going to provide a better service, basically, and what liners work best and so on and so forth. I could go on and on and on, but who would have thought that a dumb cardboard box would be the big bane of my existence?
I think this is a good opportunity for you to share with everyone the meat truck. I mean, what is the meat truck used for? Because at certain points in time, and maybe still today, you
Mm-hmm.
were actually, the herd was really, truly, fully vertically integrated in that it was actually the one conducting the delivery to people's doors. Am I right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So we bought the meat truck in 2020 when we launched the business. Um, Bought it out of I think San Jose area at a Ritchie Brothers auction. Went down there, picked it up, came home, slapped a label on it, and we were off and running. So we use the meat truck for farmers markets in the summer. So we go around to a couple little farmers markets in the summer to deliver our beef because a lot of people don't want to pay that shipping fee. But I have gotten really good at backing a 24-foot box meat truck into a 3 foot by 3 foot parking space. So that's my claim to fame right now. But it's been fun, and it's really fun when customers they see our meat truck drive around Spokane. I'll get people texting me pictures of the meat truck, and people are just excited about it, and that's what I really like about the business.
It sounds like you got more volume than you were prepared to handle initially, which is a great problem to have. And
Yeah.
then trying to figure out order fulfillment and delivery was kind
hmm
of the early on issue. As you've progressed, what kind of were the challenges after you were like 6 months in or a year in, or what are the
Yeah.
challenges now?
So we had a lot of help from just kind of organic marketing when we first launched. Everyone was really excited about supporting new businesses and were more concerned about where they're getting their meat products from. So when we first launched, Spokane, the Spokesman Review and the Columbia Basin Herald did an article on us, and basically overnight we sold all of our beef, and then from there, we've had, I'd say about maybe 40 to 50% of those customers that first ordered when we launched our company are still with us. But just going out and showing people, there is an option for you to buy beef locally and it's not expensive and it's really convenient. So I think sometimes we get looped into the big like butcher box and crowd cow companies where no, we're actually the ranchers. We're raising the beef and we're shipping it directly to your door. So I think the hardest issue now is just kind of tapping into more markets and spreading the word of the herd is so.
There's nothing better than a rhyme and a good slogan.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
what marketing channels have you found to be the most effective? And what are some that have been a little less effective, or maybe ones you've had to leave behind, if there's any?
hmm So email marketing is our bread and butter. If we can get an email address, we have a really good chance of converting an order at least once in a consumer's lifetime. As everyone can see, social media marketing is huge right now, and it's almost getting to the point where it's oversaturated by um, basically companies placing ads. So I think tapping into the more organic aspect of social media marketing, where we're just more of an educational account, we're not focused on making the sale, but rather than bringing them into our herd and showing them what ranching is like, then they're more interested in buying their beef directly from a consumer or from a producer. I would love it if everyone chose to buy their beef from me as a producer. But if you're a consumer and you're reaching out to another local producer and buying beef from them, then I'm happy. Like that's all I can ask for is that we're just supporting local ranchers.
I couldn't agree more when it comes to your discussion of social media. It seems in a lot of industries, it's totally oversaturated, and people who focus on organic stuff and educating their consumer, their target market, have a lot of success.
Hmm.
With regard to that, what is your target market? Because really, you have the capability to ship beef to a lot of different places. So,
Hmm.
do you have it pretty pinned down to a geographic region? How local is it really?
Yeah, so I would say a majority of our customer base is located in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. And those are just kind of where we focused our marketing efforts so far. And that's where the original kind of organic marketing came from when they launched those articles. But like you said, we are able to ship beef up and down the West Coast. And hopefully by the end of this month, we'll be able to ship beef as far east as the Dakotas. So we do have a large area that we can target. We don't have enough cattle to service them, but I would love to run out of beef product. But our kind of when I first launched this company, I thought in my head, okay, these are the people we're going to be targeting was like the the health conscious soccer moms that cared about where they were getting their beef from, um, concerned about what they were putting on the table to feed their family. And that's not our target market, which has been really interesting to me. Our target market are people that have had the taste of locally raised grain finished beef before, know what it tastes like. And once they kind of get that taste, where, I mean, it's kind of we call it an old fashioned taste. So once you get that taste, then you kind of crave it, and that's what you look for in a beef product. So a lot of our a lot of our consumers have been eating grain beef since they were just children.
So then, and this is going to play perfectly into right where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
Is it then a little bit of an issue of maybe misinformation as to what tastes better? That that health conscious consumer is assuming that purely grass fed and grass fed beef not only is better for them, debatable, whatever it might be, but
Mm-hmm.
also tastes better. Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah. So when we launched our beef company too, we kind of entered into the grass fed beef era where consumers were more concerned about, I need grass fed beef, I need grass fed beef, I need grass fed beef. They didn't know why they needed grass fed beef, but somewhere they read in a magazine that they said grass fed beef is better for you. Um, from the research that I've done, and I'm as a veterinary student, I like to read the literature, I like to read articles, I like peer based evidence. From what I found, consumers prefer or thought they needed that grass fed product because it had more of these omega fatty sixes or whatever they were called. In truth, those omegas were more established in grass fed animals because those animals were really older. One, because it took them longer to finish an animal on grass rather than grain. And two, because a lot of the grass fed industry is older dairy cows that just aren't hitting their quota in terms of lactation, or cows that haven't pregged up this year and they go down the road. So those animals have never eaten a lick of grain in their life. They could be called grass fed beef, and then they enter the grass fed food train. And then from one agronomist to another agronomist at FFA, the whole scuttlebutt about GMOs has everyone so scared when in fact all agriculture around us is full of GMOs. GMOs is how we're producing high quality products at a rapid pace to feed our growing population. So it's been fun to educate people the difference between a GMO and then a genetically engineered species of plant. But yeah, just kind of these like key words that almost like trigger people, and they don't really know what it means, but they know that they're not supposed to be eating it.
Yeah, absolutely. If this was my show and someone was interviewing me, I could go off the rails about genetically modified organisms, but it is not, and we are focusing on you. So I want to ask, are there any other, just outside of what might make basically a quality tasting or healthy steak cut piece of meat. Are there other pieces of misinformation about the cattle industry that you feel are affecting your business directly or that you have to combat directly with your marketing or your interactions with customers?
Mm-hmm. I think there there's been a lot of paranoia since COVID about vaccine use, about antibiotics, about feed quality, like we already discussed. Right now, I get maybe 5 to 10 emails a day regarding the mRNA vaccine, and they hear that people are vaccinating their cows to vaccinate the humans. It's not true. Actually, there's no such thing as an mRNA vaccine for cattle. They're in production for one for pork, but there's absolutely no production or availability of an mRNA vaccine for beef. But that's kind of been the hot one right now. Also, like the organic topic and what people, like I said, what people hear and read in the media, and then translating it to a producer. And I am super happy to talk about these things with a consumer because I feel like as a rancher, it's our role to educate the public on, hey, actually, this is what we're raising. It's great for you. We're not modifying it, you know?
It's got to be great to have that kind of credibility as a veterinary student, as someone who's been in this for so long. Do you find people generally listen to you or give credence to you because of that, or do you think more it's more just the way that you converse with them?
Yeah, I think approaching every conversation with an open mind and being able to see where that person's coming from has been super important. But a lot of times people already have their mind made up. You can tell them, hey, this is what we're doing. You can show them, hey, this is what we're doing. But sometimes, you know what, they're set in their ways, and that's okay. I did my part as a producer to educate you. I'm more than welcome to sit down and have a conversation with someone about it. But, just approaching it from their view too and seeing where they're coming from has been super important.
So outside of kind of just trends that are based on personal perception and maybe misinformation or COVID, now that hopefully that's all done with. Are there any industry trends just within the agricultural industry or within the cattle industry that have affected the way that you run your business in a big way in the last, since it started?
Hmm. Yeah. So I guess giving you a little more backstory on the ranch, about 15 years ago, 15 years ago, gosh, time flies. My dad came back to the ranch and said, okay, I'm not going to raise a 600, 700 pound calf anymore. I'm going to raise a steak. And my dad has been able to kind of tweak our herd genetics while switching to the Black Angus. Before we just kind of ran everything. We ran Hereford, Charolais, and Black Angus, but now our whole herd is Black Angus and kind of tweaking the genetics and EPDs that has been has let us like produce this high quality animal on the rail where it's allowed us to grade about 6 to 7 times above the national average in terms of prime beef. I think the national average right now is sitting like 6 to 8%, and then the load that we sent to Washington Beef this last week graded about 37% prime. So, ranching and all agriculture is about adapting. Um, Ranchers and farmers make less and less of the dollar of their products than they did 10 years ago. It's just how the industry is evolving. So finding more ways to kind of make your product better, make your product stand out has been super, super helpful for us and for a lot of other producers around us.
And I just want to give you, I obviously know the answer to this already, but are your cattle genetically engineered? It sounds
Our
like there might be some sort of gene splicing thing going on there with what you described.
No, so our cattle are not genetically engineered. When we talk about genetics, we're more talking about the paternal side. So we get our bulls from an awesome operation down in Pilot Rock, Oregon called Rolling Rock Angus. There's their little shout out. But we select bulls based on EPDs, so expected progeny differences. And they just basically tell us what kind of calf that this bull is going to produce. So we choose EPDs based on marbling. So we choose for heavily marbling, which has allowed us to get that heavy prime load. We've chosen ribeye size, uh, uh, calving ease. So we want our cows to have an easier time calving, especially our heifers or smaller heifers, and then birth weight. So if you are throwing a bigger calf, they're going to finish a little easier. So just kind of selecting for these little genetic things that we can control has really helped us. I My dad says it all the time. We are cow nerds. So we look at the numbers and we make the difference.
And how is it? Because ultimately, this is a family business. What do you
Mhm.
think are some of the unique benefits and excuse me, possibly challenges involved in being involved in a family business?
Yeah. Uh, my parents are my best friends. We do a lot together. That's why I come home every weekend. I could stay in Pullman and hide from them, but I don't. Um, it's cool because we all kind of bring something different to the table. I'm young. I understand social media and I understand trends and I understand marketing. So that's kind of my, as I'm in vet school, that's kind of my focus is how can I make the connection to consumer. My dad does a lot of the cattle back end stuff, so he's obviously raising the cattle for us. My mom, who's a vegetarian and also a trained chef, has been able to bring a lot of other attributes to the business in terms of like recipes. And she actually just retired this past summer and has taken up beekeeping. So we're now making beeswax and beef tallow candles and selling them on our website too. So just kind of tapping into all the little things. My mom's all about the details, where my dad and I are more big picture things. So mom likes to rope us and rein us right back in. But it's been fun. It's really been fun working with them. And I mean, we butt heads every once in a while, and I get a little irritated that they don't know what this button is on Instagram, but you got to give them a little bit of grace, right?
Absolutely. I can relate to that. Um, What motivates you on a personal level to keep all of this going? Because obviously you have a lot of different things going on. At any point in time, you could probably just say to your parents, hey, sorry, this was fun. I'm done. I'm going to be a veterinarian now. Obviously, you have to
Yeah.
graduate first.
Yeah.
But what motivates you to kind of balance so many things? And how do you see it, these different career tracks for you
Yeah.
kind of working together as you move forward?
Yeah. I definitely have a lot of irons in the fire, and people think I'm pretty crazy, which is an accurate statement. I mean, I could just take a step back and focus on my education, but what fun would that be? Um, what motivates me with the herd is more of like the education aspect of things, and I love sharing my family's hard work. It's over 100+ years of hard work. It's my great grandpa's, it's my grandpa's, it's my dad's, all of their labor, and just kind of finally being able to share it directly with consumer has been super rewarding. Um, but yeah, I mean, I will end up back in Ritzville one day. That's where the ranch is. That's where I love Ritzville. So I don't see the herd going away anytime soon.
Awesome. That's just incredible to hear. And I'm sure a lot of people from Ritzville, like myself, and Eastern Washington locals, just like the sound of that.
Mhm.
Do you see the herd changing in a substantial way in the near future or growing? Or do you kind of like where things are at in terms of your customer base and the amount that you're producing and so on and so forth?
Yeah, I my ultimate goal is for every single animal that's raised on our ranch to go through this herd program and go our whole ranch direct to consumer. Right now we're only about probably at 25% at most of our herd goes through the herd. So yeah, there's so much room to grow, and it's more just kind of a scaling issue. I tell everyone if I had maybe 5 more hours in the day, we could get it done, but at this kind of time in my life where I'm balancing 2 exams a week and ranch work on the weekends, it's just not as feasible as it could be. But uh, give me 5 years and we'll get there.
Do you envision other local cattle ranchers or even larger cattle ranchers moving to a vertically integrated model like this and being competitive with you in some way? Or do you think
Mhm.
it's for a lot of people just too much to manage?
Yeah, it's a lot of work, but what we saw with the COVID era is everyone started selling direct to consumer. Um, it feels like now, kind of as it we're moving away from the COVID times, and the consumer kind of portfolio is moving back to normal, where they're more willing to buy their beef from the grocery store. Some of these box beef companies are slowly dying out and going back to what they did before. Um, there's room in this market for everyone. The issue with the vertical integration is the beef processing plant and the funding that goes with it, and the whole HACCP plan and jumping through all the hoops that you have to do. But I welcome anyone into this space, and I'm excited to work with them. I'm excited to share what I've learned, and I'm excited to learn from them.
Yeah, I find that when people are going out in niches, collaboration pays off way more than competition. That
Hmm.
seems to be proving true in my industry, and I'm sure it's the same for you. Do
Yeah.
you have any words of wisdom to anyone that wants to go out on their own? Now, obviously, I think we should caveat that your family had an existing business. So, in a
Hmm.
sense, you weren't starting from scratch, but really you broke out and did something that was unique and different and a little disruptive, at least within the local industry and the cattle industry. So, do you have any thoughts that you want to share with someone who wants to do something that's a little risky or different in the business
Hmm.
realm?
Three words that have always been said in my household, even since I was a kid. I grew up playing club basketball, so I was pretty competitive in that realm. And something I hear my parents tell the kids now is don't be content. Uh, there's always so much more out there, so much that you could be doing that if you just take a step back, look and